Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Sylvia from Cutis Medical Laser Clinics. We're very glad that you could join us this afternoon. Today, we have something very interesting for you. We're going to discuss how to look our best when we are doing video conferencing. It is the 9th week of the circuit breaker, and we see the blazing sunlight at the end of the tunnel. But our video conferencing existence will continue for the foreseeable future, whether it's for work or whether it's to get in touch with our distant relatives. We all know and suffer from Zoom fatigue. In a recent survey, more than 90% of you reported using some form of video conferencing in your day-to-day lives. We all know the reflected blue light from our devices, but also somehow we're not used to seeing ourselves in the camera reflected back to us whenever we talk. And so suddenly we become aware of our bizarre habits. We suddenly see our lines and wrinkles. And in all of us, we think that we're more unattractive than we actually are. Today, we have two wonderful guests who will help us understand a little bit better how to look our best when we do video conferencing. I'd first like to introduce Chaqa. Chaqa Hill is Singaporean, but he spent over 18 years in Germany. And so he's very used to taking care of Caucasian clientele. In Germany, he learned art and makeup and hair, also took charge of makeup and hair for theater, for television, and we're very fortunate that Chaqa is now back in Singapore, serving his clientele at the Swiss Club. Welcome, Chaqa. Guten Tag. Guten Tag, and as they say in Austria,
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Yes.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Sylvia. It's really nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you, Chaqa. And although I mentioned your focus is on Caucasian clientele, I can attest to the fact that you're fantastic with Asians as well. So we're very happy that you're able to join us.
Thank you very much.
Our second guest is Lynn Wood. Lynn is US educated and is an advanced nurse practitioner, which means she's really specialized in what she does. She has over 15 years experience of doing medical aesthetics, and we're very happy to have her part of our team here at Cutis. I welcome Lynn Wood.
Hello, hi.
Hi. Yeah, and so what we're going to do is first maybe answer some questions, and then we have a neat surprise towards the end of our discussion. Yeah, so let me turn to you first, Chaqa. You know, most of us, when we're taking a selfie, our cameras, our phones nowadays have these automatic filters.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to make this filter for us. And one of the most important components, as you and I often talk about, is lighting. Could you give us some tips and suggestions on how to figure out our best lighting for video conferencing?
Okay, lighting is very important. We all know that. There's no way around it. When you watch YouTube videos, there are a lot of things that you can watch, and it might be overwhelming for most people. I'm going to keep it very simple, and I'm going to, in a moment, just take my laptop and walk around the apartment so that you see for yourself what is the best kind of light you would like for yourself. It's about personal preference, but we will do it together, and I'll show where it's important to have lights coming towards you. For example, in front of you is where you want the light, right? Not at your side, not on top of you. You don't want shadows anywhere. You want the light in front of you. Like right now, I'm talking to all of you, and the light is coming from that angle over there. So that's where I'm having my light. But sometimes it's not the best place, so you need to move around with your laptop and talk to someone and see. Now let's move around. I'm going to go towards daylight. So I am heading towards the window, and I'm having daylight from the front and from behind me, and this is what I get, right? So you want to see daylight really makes you look very pale. That's why we'll talk about this later with Lynn, how makeup is very, very important to have something in your face, whether it's a bronzer or anything. So this is one kind of light that you have. I never suggest anyone to have light from the back, because see how it's distracting at the back? That is what we don't want, right? Even if you see other lights coming in there. And if you see something like a neutral background, you don't want also too much of stuff going on over there. So now I'm going to take you and show you a different kind of lighting. This is one that I actually like also. So this is yellow light, which I use a lot for makeup, but then I have to find the right angle to be there. So lighting is nice, but Lynn, I think you'll talk about angle a bit later when we go on, won't you? Yeah. So this is the kind of yellow light that is basically what we use for makeup. And then there's another kind of lighting I want to show, and it's light that comes from the top. So this is what you have. Right. So wherever light comes from is very important for what you want to look like. Right. That is one of the main things for this right now. Dr. Sylvia?
Very good. Yeah, very good, Chaqa. And one interesting point to note is when we look at you, because you're wearing eyeglasses, there's a unique aspect to your eyeglasses that we don't see in most people wearing eyeglasses, and we see the color blue. Could you explain that a little bit, why we're seeing that in your case?
Okay.
And
it's very, because my glasses, I have a few glasses, they're transition, they're progressives, and they have blue filter in them. Many people will get this from their optician, and this is what happens when you have blue filter in your lenses. This is what people see. It becomes, the eye is no longer it becomes distractive. When I take it off, it's a different look, right?
Right.
But the minute I have it on. So if you have clear glasses without a blue filter, it's better to put them on when you're doing a Zoom call, or when you're doing anything with a camera and a laptop or a phone, anything in that matter.
And actually, the very fact that you have a blue filter reminds me, and I'll ask Lynn a little bit about it later on, that blue light is different than UV light. It's actually visible. So the other term for blue light is HEV, high energy visible light. And we know that blue light has a number of issues. And so it's really great to see that you yourself has a blue filter, and we should copy you, Chaqa. Yeah.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to turn to Lynn. Lynn, you know, every Saturday I have a phone call with my brother and my niece and nephew. They're based in Dallas. He's an amateur photographer, and I try to pick his brain to understand more. Why is it that we look distorted in a front-facing camera? So I'd like to hear from you, are your suggestions in terms of how to find our best angle and the perspective of the placement of the laptop.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people don't know this, but the camera on a laptop is a wide angle lens. So we have to really take that into consideration when we are looking at the placement of the laptop and the angle of the camera. One of the worst things you can do is actually place the camera below your face and have it shining up at you. So having the camera lower down is going to actually show every line, every crevice. Definitely not a good angle to look up at the nostrils. So really you want to have your camera sort of facing, eye leveled, or even a little bit higher. Typically when we take selfies, we like to hold the camera up a little bit higher, and that natural angle just makes everyone look great. So yeah, trying to find a way to elevate the laptop, elevate the phone so that you have the camera looking down at you is definitely going to give you the best angle. And then also how far away from the camera you are. You don't want to be so close that it's going to distort your features because it is a wide angle lens. So about an arm's distance length from the camera, you want to have yourself be in the middle of the screen. You don't want to fill the screen completely with your face, but also don't want to be so far back that you look so small. So those are some.
That's wonderful. That's really great, Len. Actually, an interesting fact, in the original 1931 Frankenstein movie, the director positioned the camera specifically under the face of the person to make the monster look scarier. So that's correct and absolutely wonderful suggestion. And while we have you on the camera, Lynn, you have flawless skin. We all see it. We all comment on it when we can see you in person. But what are your suggestions in terms of skincare, even if we're just staying at home and not going out?
So even if you don't have a lot of time to get ready before a Zoom call, a few critical things to do. First of all, you want to cleanse your face. You don't want to have any oily residue on there that's going to make your face really shiny on the camera. The next most critical step is to apply some sort of antioxidant to your skin. As you were talking about, Dr. Sylvia, the blue light is actually quite damaging to the skin, and we don't think about it. We think, oh, if I'm inside, I'm not in the sun, it should be fine. I don't need to apply, you know, my typical routine as if I'm going outside, but definitely the blue light is causing some damage. So I love antioxidants that have some vitamin C in it. That's great for scavenging free radicals, great to build up your collagen, great to sort of diffuse dark spots. So anything with vitamin C in it is a great antioxidant. And then the last step, really critical, is to apply some sort of sunscreen, some sort of SPF to, again, protect your skin from the blue light. I really love SPFs that have physical barriers, so titanium dioxide or zinc in it.
Yeah.
That protects you from both UV rays and also visible light.
Those are great tips, Lynn. And before I turn back to our surprise for everyone today, I want to encourage everybody to please ask questions. There is a button at the end of the screen. It says Q&A. You can opt to have your name written there when you ask the questions, or you can keep yourself anonymous, but we'd like to keep this as interactive as possible. So our surprise for you is our friend Chaqa will guide our friend Lynn on how to apply makeup to look our best in 10 minutes right before a Zoom call. So I'm going to call up Chaqa now, and maybe Chaqa, so 10 minutes, you know, that's short, just the key things, and maybe also start by telling us what's the equipment that you need. What does Lynn need to have in front of her in order to make this as efficient and look as best as possible?
Okay, thank you, Doctor. All right, so in order, we're going to make it very concise, 5 to 10 minutes. You need to be able to have a face that's presentable in front of the camera for a Zoom meeting or conversation or anything like this. So Lynn has done the basics that we agreed upon, which means she has put a compact powder foundation on. And in this case, Lynn is using a mineral powder, which is very nice. And it's one that does not get oily. The risk of getting oily and reflecting the light is something you do not have by a compact mineral powder foundation. You need to have the right tools to apply it on. Lynn, do you mind showing us the brush that you use for it? Right, okay, so it has a flat surface at the top, and you can use a blush brush, which is a slightly rounder one, but this one, yes, thank you, Lynn. But the one that Lynn used, the one with the flat surface, you dab it on. You go onto the compact powder and then you dab it on. You do not rub it on, right? You do not blush it on, you dab it on. And that gives a nice even flow to everything. So what it also does is it lets you control how much makeup you want on it. There are 3 different kinds of makeup. You have the compact powder, you have oil-based liquid foundation, and you have water-based liquid foundations. If you're using liquid foundations, I'm going to say stay away from the oil-based and use water-based, but also apply it very gently and be very careful. Double check. Always have someone you're with and check if the foundation is enough. So when you have what Lynn is using, then you don't need any more powder. But if you use liquid foundation, you might need to powder it up. Okay, so it's always very important to choose a tone that is slightly darker. Because as you have seen before, when I was walking around with the laptop, depending on where the light is, your face looks extra bright. It seems to reflect too much, and you want your face to absorb some of that light.
All right.
Right? So now, key features that we want to accentuate would probably, and this is what I think is very important, are the eyes and the lips. In doing the eyes, so what we're going to do is Lynn is going to leave one side of her face the way it is right now. And we're going to start off. Lynn, do you mind showing us your eyebrow pencil?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to go with Lynn's eyebrow pencil, and we're going to accentuate the eyebrows. We're going to define it a bit, because right now, when you have too much light, it is gone. You don't see the eyebrows at all.
So
one
thing, I just want to, Lynn, you may need to say something, because somehow we're not seeing your face up close.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's only, yeah. So maybe you need to say something, and then the camera focuses at you.
Okay. So now I'm just going to be accentuating. I'm just going to be working on one half of my face so that we can see, and I'm going to be guided by the very capable Chaqa. And I'm just going to be accentuating this side and following his tips. And then at the end, hopefully you'll be able to see that there's a difference between the two, and one actually looks better for the zoom. So I'm just doing.
So Chaqa, go ahead and talk. We'll just need, when Lynn is applying it, we're just going to need Lynn to speak.
Now, what is very important is, and this is something that I say to everyone, do not use any color that's too dark for your eyebrow. Unless you're a professional makeup artist, you may not be able to control how dark it is. And very dark eyebrows can be a bit disturbing at some point. So Lynn is using a light brown, middle brown shade, and you can just go over it and over it. And she's forming an arch. Lynn, do you mind pointing to us that arch that you have?
Again, Lynn, maybe rustle your mic or say.
Yeah, so I'm just going to try and accentuate it a little bit more, but the arch is meant to be here.
At the highest point of your eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, Chaqa, maybe when you draw the eyebrow,
yes,
the tail needs to be a little bit higher than the medial brow. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what you need to do with the eyebrow is you need to have a form. Now, if you go straight and then you bring it too far down, it's going to make your eyes look droopy and tired. What you want to do is you want to take it from here, cause an arch up there. Now, I'm exaggerating, but cause an arch up there and then slowly come down, but don't come too far down. Slant it out. It's supposed to go at an angle like that, right? There are many makeup tutorials on YouTube that can show you how to make the perfect eyebrow. You just have to accentuate it a bit for an occasion like this. So we can see now, Lynn, if you speak, they can see the difference between the two eyebrows.
All right. Can you see the difference?
Very much so.
Do I need a little more, or is that okay?
Good.
Perfect, Lynn. Okay, now can we start with the eye, Lynn?
Mm-hmm.
So if you mind showing them your color palette and what we chose, and tell them why we chose it, Lynn.
Okay, so I showed this color palette to Chaqa, and he chose the color that actually would be something I wouldn't normally choose for myself, which is this color up here. A bit darker than I would normally wear, and it made me a bit nervous when he chose that color, because I thought it's going to make my eye look really small to apply a dark color. But anyway, he showed me how to apply it, and it actually looked amazing.
And do you mind showing them the brush that we use for it, Lynn?
Yeah. This one here.
Okay. So that's the brush and that's the color palette. Keep it as simple as possible. Most women have 200% much more stuff than they ever need. So keep it simple, and Lynn is going to start from the outer crease and move it inward, and she dabs the brush. Lynn, do you mind explain it so that they can see you while you do it?
Yeah, I'm just tapping the brush on the back of my hand to get any sort of excess off before I start applying it. And I'm just gonna apply just from the outer corner in.
Nice.
See a difference?
I think you can go a bit more, Lynn.
All right. I'm just applying really lightly, just at the corner.
Right.
And nice. And just one thing, Chaqa, before is Lynn, of course, has this beautiful Caucasian eye where you can naturally see where the eye is deep set.
Yes.
How would you do this if the eye is for Asian or a Chinese person? How would you position the eyeshadow?
What I would do is I would take, so this is again the difference between the Asian eye and, like for you, for example, Dr. Sylvia, I would take the eyeshadow and go around the whole eyelid, right? But I would thin it out towards inside and I would expand it outside. And I am one of those who are a little bit more daring. I don't mind going higher because I can always brush whatever I don't need away with powder. Right? So the difference between an Asian eye is you want to accentuate it different. Now, I see a lot of women in the MRT who put very bright eyeshadow on their eyes hoping that it will make your eyes look bigger. What it makes is that eyeshadow reflects the light and your eyes look smaller.
Puffy,
you get the
correct.
opposite effect than what you want. And remember, Lynn, we were talking about this. That's why we picked the darker color. So now when you already have what Lynn has, and you would do it on an Asian eye, you would do it all over the eye. And then Lynn, do you mind taking your eyeliner and explaining to them again what we did in our trial?
Yeah, so I have an eyeliner here that's a gray green, gray blue color. So not black, but a bit of a dark gray color. And he taught me to actually apply a thicker layer of the eyeliner on the outer and then get thinner as I go in, but I'm not going to bring it all the way to the corner of the eye. I'm just going maybe a little more than halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way.
Nice.
It's just getting thinner here.
And is this a pencil or is it a liquid liner? And how did you choose the color?
Okay, Lynn has a pencil and we work with, because we are not allowed to see each other and not allowed to sit with each other and choose the right products, we work with whatever she has at home. So she has the pencil and she showed me a few and I said, I want that brown one, because that's the one that you want to use and you want to accentuate it. Now, if you see, if Lynn would speak soon, and I want everybody to look at both her eyes. Lynn, can you please talk?
Okay,
can you say
so
something?
here,
Okay.
and here is both eyes. The left eye has the eyeshadow and eyeliner on it. The other side has nothing. And both eyes have mascara. And then the left eyebrow's been drawn in and the other eyebrow not.
Okay. Lynn, do you have light coming in from the left side of your face?
Yes.
Do you mind switching it off?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that is what we have. Everybody, Lynn, you need to say something.
Okay. How about now?
Right. Doctor, do you see the difference now, what we've done?
I mean, I think even without the light, without the left light, she looks wonderful on the left side, right?
Right.
Eyes look bigger, more alive, just more things happening on the left side.
Yeah. And Lynn, if you talk now, in a second, when you talk, I want everybody to see how the eye is opened up to lift and to give a fresher look. And this is only like what it took us maybe 2 minutes. When you've got it down, it takes you only 2 minutes. Can you please say something, Lynn?
Yeah. So really only took 1 or 2 minutes to do. Very, very easy to do.
It's wonderful.
Right. Lynn, do you mind doing the highlighter bit that we did yesterday? Now she's going to apply highlight, and a lot of people like to apply way too much highlight. Lynn is going to show you the brush that we use for highlighting and how I taught her where to put it and rub the rest with your fingers. Go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, okay, so I have this color palette, and what I'm going to do is take this very, very small, quite thin brush, and I'm going to pick this really bright white color. And again, I'm going to take all the excess off on my hand. And then I'm going to apply this right at the arch of my brow. And then I'm going to, with my finger, just gently rub it downwards.
Nice. You know what I find really interesting? So Chaqa and Lynn, of course, when we do fillers, we use makeup artists as our model for how you best highlight certain parts of the face and have low lights on certain parts of the face. So in effect, what Lynn is showing, it's like when we put a filler on the brow bone to make it more enhanced. And so that's really, really interesting.
Doctor, you remember how every time you do Botox for me, I go like, doctor, I want the eyebrow up. Can you lift it?
Yes.
It's because it automatically, now we all see it in Lynn, it automatically lifts you. And you know, doctor, I have not had Botox for a while because I couldn't come to see any one of you. So I miss that look that gives me that freshness, just that little bit of freshness. That's what.
Yeah, but the makeup can do it for the moment, right?
Yeah,
so
right now when we have no choice, the makeup is doing it. When you're back in action, doctor, we'll be seeing each other.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So now, Lynn, do you mind taking your blush brush and just showing them, and then showing them your bronzer, the two palettes that we had, yes, when we did the trial?
Yeah, so I've got a little blush brush here. It's a rounded brush, and then I've got kind of a brown toned bronzer. And what I'm going to do is just a little bit of that, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of color here. And then, is that enough or do I need more?
Do you mind putting, because the lighting is very different, I think we'll need a bit more. And do you mind doing it on your hairline also, Lynn, and on the temple?
I think one of the tips that I learned was that you actually need to make it a bit heavier than you normally would to make things stand out. So because you tend to be a little bit washed out with the lighting and with the camera lens. So even though it's a bit stronger than I normally would, you do need a little bit extra.
That's why when we do makeup for television and stage shows, it's always more. When you see them in front of you, they look really caked up, but when you see them in the distance, it's just perfect. Now, Lynn, you have the other palette with the colors. Yes. Can you just put it on the apple that we did yesterday?
And Lynn, maybe you can say something.
So I'm applying a little bit of extra color right on the apples to give myself a little bit more color, not so washed out.
Okay, now I need to say something to everyone who has been following us until now. There are different kinds of eyeshadows, and there are matte eyeshadows. I want to talk about matte eyeshadows and about glitter eyeshadows. When you're using glitter, I know it's a very preferred sort. Everybody thinks it's going to be nice, and you need to be very careful. When you have matured skin and you use glitter, those glitter particles, depending on what kind of eyeshadow you have, will set itself in every line that you have. And I'm saying line, but I mean wrinkles. So you do not want to accentuate your wrinkles. So after a certain age, like anyone almost my age and above, please stay away from glimmer particles. The matte ones are the ones you want to go for, and you accentuate using the glimmer particles, like what Lynn did at the top of the at the bottom of the arch. That's where you can use your glitter particle, and at the apple. That's where Lynn went in and used the glitter particles. Now, a little bit of advice for anyone with my skin color and darker. You need to know that you need You are not supposed to use, especially in a Zoom, in a camera and anything like that. Please stay away from translucent or transparent powders. You need an orange-based powder. The minute you have more, what is it, Dr. Melanin? Yeah, that's what you have in your
more
skin,
melanin,
right? Because
more
I know it only in
melanocytes.
German. Yeah, the minute you have more melanin like me on in your skin, you need orange. Orange evens it out. You need to think about the color chart, and that's what you want. That orange freshens you up. If you use anything matte like what Lynn is using now for powder, you're gonna look grayish. Okay. Now we're going to finish this look with just a lip gloss. Lynn and I went through whatever she had, and I said, Lynn, I want this one because it's a bit more neutral. You've accentuated the eyes. You don't want too much, but you want to also bring out the lips, but you don't want to pop them out too much. Do you mind doing it, Lynn?
Yeah, so I just got a little pinkish kind of neutral colored lip gloss, and I'm just going to apply that now. Finish off the look.
Nice. Wonderful. And actually, it's interesting now that it's set, it's even nicer than just a couple of minutes ago.
It's fact. When we do makeup for anything, it takes 20 minutes from the minute you put down the last brush and you're done. 20 minutes for everything to work with your skin, and that's what you have.
Wonderful.
Right? That's what it is.
Before you talk about hair, Chaqa, I have a couple of questions. And so when a person is more mature, especially Caucasian, we know that the eyes become even deeper, so that it becomes even more deep set. Right. Do you have any suggestions in terms of the need to then create that shadow that Lynn did? Do you have any suggestions on what to do when someone is in her 60s and the eyes are deeper already, and applying a deeper shadow could make it even more sunken?
Well, I would say that when you have deeper set eyes and you're mature, that's where you really need to come in with the matte colors and use different shades of a color. Remember how we were talking about, doctor, on an Asian eye, you would put all around the eye, then you would do that also with a deeper set eye. But let's say you have 3 different shades of brown. I would take the middle one, and then I would just go at the ends where Lynn did the crease of the eye in that darker shade. That is where you would take the darkest shade of brown.
That's complicated.
That goes a bit into tutorial. That's something that's not so easy. So if you want to be safe, if you want to play safe, I'm going to say get your eyebrows and your eyelashes tinted as of sometime next week, or in Singapore, I think it'll probably be next week. Brow House is allowed to open up, I think.
No, I don't think so.
Is it in phase 1? That's not in
no,
phase 1.
That's no,
okay.
Yeah, because
well, then come to me. Hairdressers are allowed to.
Yeah.
So get your eyebrows and your eyelashes tinted, then you save a lot of time.
Right.
And if you're worried about not being able to do anything, put on a pair of fake glasses.
Right. And the other thing, of course, Lynn has no hollowing under the eyes. But what suggestions could you give if someone does have volume loss under the eye, whether it's young people also have tear troughs, but also older people, if there's hollowing and tear trough formation? How would you
Concealer. You want to use concealer, but if you want to use concealer, please be very careful. I've seen concealers go bad. You need to try concealer. The consistency is a lot thicker than a normal makeup. It is something that is made for 100% coverage. So use it like what Lynn did just now with the brush. Tap it in your hand. Use a very small brush, and then go in all the way in. Like I have this dark rings around my eyes. I've always had that. So when I do a concealer, I would go from inside and then I would move it out in that movement, not brushing it, but dabbing it as I move out. And if it's all grayish, then you need to understand, you need to contradict the color on a color chart. If it's grayish, which means it's green, so you need a concealer that has a hint of a hue of red or pinkish or something like that, and then you met it up. And you got to be very careful. Concealer is very strong, and then when you put powder on top of it, you need to be very, very careful. test it, and you'll find the best way to do it for yourself.
And Chaqa and Lynn, wait, there's an avalanche of questions coming in, so let's
Sure.
take a few of them before we continue and do the hair part. The first question I have here from Taylor: can I put concealer on acne scars on the cheeks to fill in the hollowing, or how do you suggest hiding the appearance of acne scars, Chaqa?
Okay, acne scars, if they're no longer inflamed, you may use concealer. I am going to say go for minerals. Mineral makeup has antioxidants in it. Your skin will still be able to breathe when you use it. Now, you're going to have to use it first, because most of it is normally in a cream form. You remember, doctor, we used to work with Glow Minerals. They had the camouflage. So use the camouflage. Use your tiny finger, because the heat from your body and the camouflage works very well together. And dab it on. And then for the rest of the skin that has no scars, you may use a powder, and then use the hydration mist to blend it all in together.
Interesting.
It takes a few times to try it, but you can do it. But like I said, if you have acne scars or anything, any inflammation on your skin, please use mineral makeup.
But also, Chaqa, when it's a depressed chronic scar, you know, like a pitted scar, is that still the same technique? Like if it's sunken or a box scar, so put concealer on the spot first?
Well, I would say it depends on how deep it is, doctor.
Right,
If it's not too deep and you can cover it by concealer, yeah, just go ahead and do it. And this is your best tool for that. Really,
okay.
Your little finger is your best tool for it, because it's just the best way for you to get it on without being too much.
Yeah, and interesting you point out mineral makeup, because apparently Cameron Diaz has acneic skin and a lot of acne scars, and she uses Glow Minerals in order to make her look flawless even on high definition camera.
Right.
Go ahead, Chaqa.
Okay, I was just going to say a little point about mineral makeup, especially what we used to work with Glow Minerals. It works with the hydration mist, and the same thing that Lynn has, the compact powder and the brush. Normal makeup, once you've applied, you cannot touch it until you shower or clean it. Mineral makeup, you can just take that brush and reapply throughout the day. That's the advantage of it. And your skin still gets to breathe. And especially in Singapore, in our humidity, where if I put on a tinted cream or anything on my body, I sweat the minute I get to the bus stop. Everybody knows that. That mineral makeup lets your skin breathe.
Right. I'm going to turn to Lynn. There's a question for you, Lynn. General tips on skincare. You mentioned antioxidants, but are there other things that you would recommend apart from the ones you discussed?
Yeah, so I think antioxidants really, really critical. I think also putting some hydration on your skin. Often we don't think about, okay, we're not outside, we're not sweating. Maybe we don't need the hydration, but it can actually, you know, if you don't have hydration on your skin, it can accentuate the fine lines, can accentuate you know, all the things, the crepiness, the things that we don't want. So making sure, and also hydrating yourself, drinking lots of water throughout the day. It's an easy thing to forget.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's excellent. Before I take the other questions, Chaqa, do you want to continue with the hair, for example?
Well, for the hair, we decided that we would just explain, because it's going to be so difficult for, see, like if we look at Lynn right now, what you see is basically, and just like you, doctor, Lynn has all her hair to one side and you have it on both sides. That's what people see when you're doing a video call. So if you're good at using an iron, if you're good at anything, the front part of your hair is the only thing you need. I watch The View every day, and Sunny Hostin, she says, I only do this part of my hair because nobody sees the back and nobody cares about the back.
Right.
So, and if you're in desperate need, do a ponytail, do it slightly higher, but instead of pulling it tight back, tease the top bits of it. Give yourself some volume. If you're someone like Lynn, who has Lynn has an oval shaped face, which is for every makeup artist, the perfect face. But if you have something that's more angular, that's more squarish, then you would want to go higher here. So just tease it till, you know, the cows come home, and then just flatten it a bit when you get that volume, and then just bring it down. And if you're afraid that it looks too made up, the front part of your hair, just leave it down and tease the rest here, and then just comb all of this back. Some hairspray, ponytail, you look good.
Fantastic.
You look good, right? Just
and one of the
simple
questions, Chaqa, is could you clarify how you applied the bronzer? Because for Lynn, you asked her to create it at the perimeter of the face, especially
Yes.
the forehead. So would you like to go over that?
So if your bronzer has normally bronzers will always have glimmer particles in it. You need to see where they are. So glimmer comes at the highest points of your face, which is your cheekbone, your bridge, your temple, your chin, right? And when we talk about shading, this part of your face under your cheekbone is where you want to shade darker. Sometimes the bronzer comes in a packet. Lynn, do you mind showing yours again, the two brown ones? It has a light one and a darker one. You need to say something, Lynn.
Can you all see this? It's got some brown, and then this is some shimmer.
Right. So you take the brown one, you take the blush, and you go around your face. And you want to blend this bit down. What you do by blending this bit down is that you're making the face stop here. Otherwise, the face goes down. It's one with your neck. So you want to stop it here. And if you are someone like me who has a very defined chin, then you might want to go also here, right? And if you're like my nose, then you want to put it. So this is where you want to put it. You want to put some on your temple, go down here, and then here. And then you take the lighter color, and then you put it here. And
right? Where you want to put the highlights.
Where you want to put the highlights. The dark one is where you want to give the depth and the contour. The light one is where you want to put the highlight.
Now, we have two other questions. You sort of answered them, Chaqa, but I think people want you to just reiterate a couple of things from Karen. What's the most optimal lighting? And also from Belle, which eyeshadow color to make an Asian eye or single eyelid eye look bigger? Okay.
Optimal lighting is, people say daylight is the most optimal lighting. I am scared of daylight. I prefer yellow lights. No light in my apartment is white fluorescent light. That is the worst light. If you see a dressing room, anywhere you go, you put on a bikini, you put on a swimming costume. When I put on Speedos, I look at the dressing room mirror, I get a heart attack and I walk out crying. You want to stay away from fluorescent light. Yellow light, like this one, I'm going to take you again. So this is a nice kind of light. See how the skin just grabs the warmth of the light? That gives you a little bit more warmth. You don't want it to be too cool. When I switch this off and I come here, this becomes cool light.
Right.
So, preferably yellow light. And if you have Asian skin and you want to make your smoky eyes, I'm going to recommend mauve, M-A-U-V-E. That's a nice color. And if you can use a tad of dark gray anthracite with it, anything darker, then that's perfect. Mauve is always a safe color to play with. It's dark, you can make it darker, but if you go wrong, you can just brush it away. It's not permanent.
Right. And one other question then is the eyelid. The color for, so it's mauve, you're saying, but you also discussed the application is a little bit different. So that's really important, right? And Lynn showed us earlier the type of brush. Now, this is an interesting question. What is your take on cream contouring? This is apparently how you get the Kim Kardashian face. What are your thoughts on that, Chaqa? Cream contour.
I worked many years for stage and TV. Cream contouring is good when you're standing in front of a camera, when you're on stage, when you're far away from someone. When we talk to someone face to face, cream contouring, unless you really know how to do it, you see it. So that's my take on it. I personally, when I do private makeup tutorials for women who want to go out, I teach them how to do all the contouring they need to do with blush, color or with you know, a bronzer or something like that. And I always stay away from the reds and everything. I stick to the hazelnut, chestnuts, that color, right? You know, row of colors. Yeah.
And actually, I would imagine that something that is creamier could sit in wrinkles and exaggerate lines,
Yes,
right?
yes. So when you do cream contouring, doctor, you're actually using oil-based makeup.
Right.
Because
So,
I know how they always put it here, and then they would put the light one and the dark one and then blend it all together. It looks good when we're taking pictures, and it really looks amazing when you're on stage. But it looks very scary when that person is in front of you. I have seen many people try it, and some look good, but some, it needs a lot of practice. Be on the safe side and use different blush palettes.
okay. And the other thing, let me see, one question here is about the new Selfie Moisturizers. So if, has either of you have had experience with this? So they're, I think they're moisturizers that contain glitter. And so it's meant to reflect. What are your thoughts, Lynn and Chaqa, on using these types of moisturizers?
Lynn?
Well, for me, I think the thing that was so interesting working with Chaqa, and he's taught me so much already, but I'm realizing how much glitter I already have in a lot of my palettes and a lot of my makeup. And you think, oh, the more glitter, the more glowing, the more dewy you'll look. But I learned from Chaqa that it's a double-edged sword. You know, you can definitely overdo it, and especially when you're, you know, doing Zoom calls or over camera, it can look different than you think it's going to look.
Right. And you as well, Chaqa, your thoughts on it?
My thought on it is very simple, doctor. So I'm not familiar with this product, but when you say glitter spray, right, moisturizer, so you spray, if you're spraying it on, you cannot control where it goes.
Right.
Then it's going to go everywhere. So it's going to go into the depth also. So instead of accentuating, you know, bringing out the features that you want to bring out, you're actually bringing out everything.
Right. That's true, because it's all about lights and shadows. Yes. But it may potentially have a role when you go out in the evening and using it for the body, right? Yes. So for bones, to enhance clavicles or arms or
so
things like
what
that.
I was just going to say that, doctor, that would be something perfect to spray on your arms and on your, this part of you and, you know, wherever you want some reflection and it looks fresh.
Décolleté or even
décolleté, you know, when you have something, well, not like me, but if you have something low cut, you know, that would be nice.
That's fantastic. And now one other question, and this is an interesting one, and this may be from both of you. If it's a man doing a Zoom call, this is a real challenge, right? Because they don't know how to use makeup. Should they even use anything? What are your recommendations? First, Chaqa, for a man.
If it's a man, I would in any case see, like, I have not, because when we decided to do this, I was not able to go back to the salon and take my my makeup products. I would just use a non-shimmery bronzer on my own face, but or I would just use my orange powder that I said before and just powder up the face a bit. What it does is that it evens out the flaws and it just makes you look a bit fresher, and it, you know, it takes the light, it doesn't reflect too much. But you can see all this in me very extreme right now because I have nothing on my face. And if I take this off, you see the darkness and everything. But if I had a bit of that powder, I could probably do this so much more gentler. Just that powder. I would stay away from everything else if it's a man.
Yeah. And you, Lynn, any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I would say make sure you get rid of any excessive oil on the face. So, you know, you cleanse your face beforehand, cleanse your face in the morning, or even those oil, you know, oil pads that you can, the paper that you can just blot a little bit to get any sort of excess oil off the face. If they aren't interested in using any makeup or powder, I think would be a good step.
And of course, the rules that you guys discussed about lighting, positioning, that of course applies to men as well. And let me just state, there's a lot of the questions are coming. And so this talks about YouTube tutorials, putting glitter on the corner of the eyes to pop the look. So I'm guessing it's probably inside, Chaqa, like a white eyeliner inside. What are your thoughts on that?
It would be inside. So if we look at what Lynn has done also, the inside part of her eye, this part is where we would put on the eyelid itself. Just this part is where you would put, again, I would just dab a little bit like Lynn did at the arch of the eyebrow, and then just blend the rest in. That's where you want to put it. Now, a lot of people, and I see this many times, they go all the way to the nose. You do not do that, because what you're doing is that you are making this eye look even longer in a way you don't want it to look longer. So
Rather
do
than
not go
higher.
all the way till there. Many will do this and then bring it down here. It's perfect if you're on stage and if you're far away and people need to see your eyes. But if you're not on stage, it is very distracting.
And one other thing I saw in Lynn, who has beautiful eyes, she has a little bit under the eye. So the under eyeliner, is that something, so for someone with Lynn's features, obviously it's beautiful and it works well. For Asians, is that something you would do? Like,
I would do, but with Asians, you see how Lynn has it under the eye outside? An Asian woman should do it under the eye inside.
Ah.
Right? So instead of outside, inside. That's what I would do.
I see, right. So that's really interesting. Now, one other question, Chaqa, in terms of eye bags, how would you, so if it's hollow, it's easy. You want to lighten it up. If someone has less elasticity and therefore the consistency of the eye is baggy, how would you suggest doing a makeup in that situation?
That's a difficult one, because whatever's not there, you can put it there. But whatever is there is difficult to take away. So I'm going to say that if that really bothers someone, get them removed.
Okay, that's
right. That's where they come to you. Do they come to you for that, doctor? Do you do eyebrow removals?
There are definitely some procedures we can do to tighten that area, like microneedling or laser resurfacing. Now, one other thing, one of the more aging, we discussed this in a couple of our talks, one of the more aging manifestations is the lengthening of the upper lip, like going like this. How do you suggest we could mask that or improve that look? So when you want to make it brighter, what are the things we could do?
I have it with a lot of people that they have that. And what I do is I always, I mean, I've been blessed with this line here. So what I do with them is, instead of going on a red lipstick or something that's so obvious, I would take a hue like yours, doctor, right? And I would draw it bit by bit. Now, I always do a little because they need to see themselves and still feel comfortable with it.
Right.
There's a shock factor in there that we want to get rid of. So you do a little bit first, and then they see and they say, oh, that looks good, do a bit more. Automatically, they will tell me to do more. So if anybody wants to do it, get a shade of eye pencil that's like your lips right now, doctor, and then start doing that. Do the bottom part first, so you have an association of how you want this to be with this. Never, ever, ever do too much. Just do a little bit, and then take it more and more and more.
Right. Yeah, the lips, whenever we treat lips, it is one of the more outstanding features of a person. And if they're not expecting a change, whether it's a filler, it's typically the one that can make them a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning until it's
I did makeup for one of my clients before she came to you for her lips, doctor. And after she came back and I had to do the makeup, it made my life easier. Thank you for that. It really did. And you didn't overdo it. And she thought in the beginning, she called me and she said, I might have overdone it. I might have overdone it. I said, when did you get it done? She said, yesterday. I said, oh God, just wait a few days. When the swelling went down and it was no longer swollen, it was just, it was so easy to put the lips on after that.
Because actually what people don't know is lip fillers can be, you can add volume, or you could just do it as a hydration, right, Lynn? Or just improving the structure and balance. And so it's not necessarily about creating a lip that's different and that doesn't suit your overall facial features. So yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
Nervous to add any volume to their lips, whether it's with a liner or with product, because they feel like there's only either huge or nothing. You know, they don't know that there's everything in between. You can have crazy huge lips and you can have really subtle, your own lips just slightly more defined, and everything in between. So it's really customized. And I think you're saying the same thing, Chaqa, with the lip liner. You start with a little bit, see how you like it, and see what you're comfortable with.
Right. And I know, Chaqa, you mentioned earlier, one other question, and it involves Lynn as well, because your eyes are really stunning, Lynn, but the application of mascara. So do you typically apply the mascara at the end or in the beginning? And is it something you encourage for a Zoom call?
Yes, definitely encourage it for a Zoom call. You apply the mascara once you finish with everything else, because if you apply the mascara before and then you put eyeshadow, it's going to drop onto your eyelashes. So you don't want to do the double work. Just wait until you're done. And like I said, please get a package from Brow House, get the eyebrows tinted, the eyelashes tinted. I normally do it for all my clients. When the treatment is processing at the sink, I would just tint their eyelashes and their eyebrows. And then they have 4 weeks of peace. And you don't really, and if you're going out at night, then you might want to touch up your eyelashes after 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So you might just want to mascara it a bit at night still.
And interesting you say that, Chaqa, that it's just coloring. Do you, as a related topic, do you encourage only coloring, or do you recommend tattoo or addition of like fake eyelashes? And this is a question for you too, Lynn.
Lynn, do you want to take this first?
So do you tattoo? Do you
like the microblading? You know, it's a bit more permanent than just tinting. But obviously you need to make sure you choose a really talented artist who can do it. But I really like the look of that, and it tends to last a little bit longer. It's not as permanent as a tattoo, but I think it looks really beautiful on a lot of people.
Right.
The eyebrow shapes the eyes. It's like the frame for the eye. So if you don't have any hair, yes, get it done. In saying that, the two most difficult things to do when we do makeup is eyebrow and lips.
Interesting.
So you need to actually get your eyebrow penciled on first and look in the mirror and go like, I like it. This is what I want to look like the next few years, and then get it done. And like Lynn said, you need to get someone who's really good at it, because otherwise you're going to look like, in Malay we call it Chinese wayang Cina, Chinese wayang, like the very over the top kind of eyebrow thing. You don't want that. You want it to look a bit more subtle. It always looks extreme in the first few weeks. We all know it. Give it time. It needs to settle in, and then you need to get it retouched, I think, in a month or two after that.
I think the one thing about microblading, as you say, you have to make sure you know the look you want and what suits your face. We had someone a few months ago, and she's Greek, but the placement of the eyebrow was for a Chinese person. And what's popular in Chinese and Korean look is horizontal, which does not work well for someone with Lynn's eye shape, because that looks fierce, the Angry Bird look, right? So, but in that case, it was difficult to reverse it because she did microblading. So it was horizontal and there was no arch, and it did not suit her face at all. And so you have to be very careful about who you go to. You want to know what shape suits your face also. These are very important things. The other thing with microblading, what I've seen is it can bleed. It can look like a block, like what's called blocking. So instead of the natural look of hair, which is more feathering, if you don't go to the right place, it looks like a block. And that's also looking unnatural, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My advice to anyone who wants to do this is, if you have someone who has done it and looks good, approach that person. Or if you see any woman, I always tell my clients when they go back to where they come from and they say, where do I go to a hairdresser? I say, if you see any woman on the streets that has beautiful hair, approach her. every woman, I don't know any woman who would feel offended when someone comes up and says, your hair looks amazing, can you tell me where you go? When the eyebrows, that same thing, approach a woman who has nice done eyebrows, you can see it and then just ask her, where do you get it done?
I think that's very, very true, Chaqa. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for aesthetics because you shouldn't say
You
where
shouldn't
you get your
see,
Botox because, yeah,
yes,
so
yes.
this is very, very private. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, and I want to thank the two of you, Chaqa and Lynn,
Thank
and
you.
all of you, our audience, with wonderful questions and very interactive. I hope everybody learned, and certainly ways we can maximize our remaining time while we're on video conferencing, which will continue for some time. So I thank you very much. On Thursday, we have an interesting sort of related topic. This is a question and answer session where so one of the most common questions I get these days, because we know we can't do the full range of aesthetic procedures, we can only treat patients who have symptoms like severe acne or pain. We cannot manage pure aesthetics in this phase 1 period. So one of the most common questions is, oh no, what can I do to prolong my treatments? What can I do to maximize and prolong the fact that I can't do a facial yet, or I can't do Botox yet, or a facial yet? What's out there that we can do to prolong the benefits of what we've done in the past? And so that we're going to discuss on Thursday. Thank you again very much. Thank you both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Sylvia. Nice seeing you again.
Nice
Bye.
seeing you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.